Welcome to Doomscroll. I'm Matt Sheffield.
And I'm Lisa Curry. And today, I'm going to start by saying I am so excited. We recorded on Monday, and then Tuesday, we recorded our Patreon only on Monday. So get in on that. And then Tuesday morning, it was announced, surprisingly, that Kamala picked Tim Walz to be her running mate, and I could not be more excited. I am certain that he is somebody that can get both sides. I mean, I think we both feel this way, Matt. We talked about this, where
yeah, we did.
He's somebody that appeals, has broad appeal without, he's like not a psycho. He's a normal person. And I think there's a lot of people, most people just want a normal fucking person. We're so tired of people trading stocks, being millionaires, being paid off by, whomever, being in bed with Silicon Valley. And it's refreshing that he's
not a lawyer.
He's not a lawyer.
Like, I read this is the first time, since the 70s, right? Isn't there something?
Since the 80s, since Carter, that there's been anyone running on either ticket, or I guess on the Democratic ticket. I'm not entirely sure on the right. I'm making
Trump,
that part up.
Yes, yeah.
Trump's certainly not he definitely thinks he is. But I'm very excited. And of course, the left is starting to eat their own. I did see a long thread yesterday on Twitter. I commented on it today. I'm on Twitter at Lisa_Curry. It's the only place I'm not Olympian Lisa Curry. I commented on it today where a friend reposted this thread where somebody was like, actually, until a few years ago, Tim Walz wasn't good on the climate. And it's like, okay. And it was like, he only changed his position because his constituents demanded it. And it's like, right. Yeah, that's good. How is this a fucking problem? It's like we scream at people to change, and then when they change, we're like, hypocrite. That's not your real opinion. It's like, okay, fuck off. But I'm very excited. And I'm trying to not stan a politician because that is psychotic behavior. But I do love him. He's great.
And I like
criticize him should he
can talk. He actually is interested in explaining himself to people. Because
absolutely,
I feel like that has been the number one problem of Democrats in the past 20 something years, is that they just think that people, they'll be like, their answer to Democrats' answers to things will be like, okay, well, here, read this briefing paper that's 200 pages, instead of being, just saying, this is what we're going to do, and it's great, and let me tell you what.
They don't speak like a human. They talk in this like weird roundabout political speak where they're like trying to thread the needle between appeasing conservatives and fulfilling things they promised to Democrats. It's very stupid. And I listened to him on Ezra Klein's podcast. He did a really great interview where he was, I think it was Ezra Klein, maybe it was The Daily. Listen, it was one of those podcasts where there was a long interview with him, and he was talking about the free lunches for kids and talking about how, like, in the past when Democrats have done it, they've made it this big convoluted thing. And they're like, okay, so there's going to be vouchers, but then you have to pay this much, and there's tickets and whatever, and these schools can do this. And he was like, we're overcomplicating things, and it makes it actually not very useful because people can't access things when it's so complicated. And he was like, we just made it free school lunches for everyone, regardless of whether or not you have money. Done and done. Things can be that simple. And I think that in my memory, that's the first time I've heard of a politician making something cut and dry and not, a series of fucking peanuts that lead to a doorway that lead to another doorway that are, you need a code. It's like most of the programs Democrats set up for people are essentially an escape room. And he was like, no, we don't need that.
Yeah, exactly. No, like the people hate bureaucracy. And so if you want to help them, you need to make it as easy as possible for them to get the help. And they will really fucking appreciate you for doing it. But the other thing that the Minnesota Democrats have done well is that they've stopped trying to bring Republican idiots along with them. Like, that's what killed why Obamacare was much less useful than it would have been, because they kept trying to drag people across the finish line who don't give a fuck about policy, who don't give a fuck about helping people. And Absolutely. So don't even try. Like, if they're not gonna sign on with it, then just fuck them and move on. And they've done that in Minnesota. They had like a 2-seat margin, 1-seat margin in the Senate there, and they pushed through all this stuff, and it's been fucking great. So that's a lesson as well.
That's the thing, and it's also like the things he's saying are. He's not saying anything divisive. He's not saying like it's not a radical policy to say that kids should be able to eat lunch. And like my brother had a tantrum, we'll say an adult tantrum years ago, because at the school his kid goes to school at or went to school at, I have an fully grown adult nieces and nephews with their own kids. Turns out underage drinking is a gateway drug to teen pregnancy. So be careful out there, folks. But my brother lost his mind and went into the school and yelled at the principal because my nephew, so they have free meals for kids that can't afford it, my brother, let me say this again. So my brother pays into a thing, like he donated extra to the school to help cover kids that couldn't afford it. So they would get like tickets or vouchers or some little punch card or whatever it was. Well, his kid goes to school one day, had forgotten his lunch money, and they would not serve him lunch. And my brother's like, I fucking donate all this money for kids that can't afford it, which I'm happy to, but then my kid forgets his school lunch one day. Like, he's a fucking 75-pound kid. How much can he even eat in the first place? You know, it's like the fact that we're even arguing over whether or not kids should be able to eat food is so insane. I'm like, it's not, there can't be anything simpler. Like, if that doesn't bring both sides together, what the fuck could?
Yeah. No, exactly. Like, if Republicans, like they are upset about this stuff though. Like, that's what's so great. I fucking love that they're upset about this, because it's like don't threaten us with a good time here, guys. Like, they're also the same. They're also the same people that just signed a law. I can't remember what state it was. Maybe you recall, where it was like they took away. It's like now 9-year-olds can work in mines or whatever. You don't have to be 15 and have a work permit. It's like, that's not what we fucking needed. And you see the person signing the bill, and all the kids sitting next to them are just fucking miserable. They're like, what? Yeah.
Why? Yeah. And like, I worked. My parents had a business and I worked. And I think that, it certainly shouldn't be illegal for you to help with the family business. I mean, that was like picking up trash or whatever. It's not a big deal. I wasn't clocking in and out, and I could fuck off if I wanted to. But I'm like, is that really what we need right now? Kids to be able to work in factories?
No, and the juxtaposition is perfect though, because there is, and people have circulated that meme of these, kids hugging Tim Walz after he was like, yeah, this means that your friends will be able to eat whenever they want at school, or eat what they want at school. And so they all started hugging him. And then the next one, is the picture you talked about with Sarah Huckabee Sanders and the kids just looking. I mean, you couldn't get a better juxtaposition. He wants kids to be able to eat at school, and she wants them to go to work and be exploited.
Like cartoonish. It's like they're in those cases, they're like villains in some kind of like actual cartoon. I'm like, that's the witch in the hut that is trying to cook kids and eat them and luring them with candy. It's a fucking Grimm's fairy tale level. It's oh god, it's so insane. And
it's just, I'm going to add that, like, it's like, Republicans are like, oh, now they're starting to say, oh, well, we can't talk about Biden being old now. I guess we'll have to talk about our policies. We can win on that. And I'm like, are you sure about that, guys? I think this is a worse conversation for you.
I know. Well, Trump has now pivoted to not even talking about policy, but just talking about his crowd sizes. And he was whining, what, yesterday, today? I saw the clip today where he's
Both,
going
yeah.
on and on about how the media, he goes, when Kamala draws 1,500 people, which, listen, not even bragging here, but this is kind of a brag. I've performed for thousands of people with Jim Jeffries. I've performed for 1,500 people. I've performed for 3,500 people. So I know what a room of that size looks like. The arena she was at in Philly was well beyond 1,500 people. It was well beyond 10,000 people. And he's saying, I mean, it was probably like 20, 30. I don't fucking know. Please don't come for me. But then he goes, he was like, and then I performed for 100 or perform. He was performing. He's like, and then, I bring in 100,000 people. And it's like, sweetheart, there's not like a football stadium is 60,000. I looked this up. Wembley Stadium is 90,000. Wembley Stadium. Queen sold out. He did not fill a Wembley Stadium worth of people. There's photographic evidence.
Yeah. Well, and but it's why he's kind of stayed off the campaign trail. I feel like, because after the big launch of the Kamala Harris Tim Walz ticket, they are just getting these huge crowds at their events now, and and the Harris campaign actually did they trolled Trump by putting a photograph of his campaign crowd and hers was much bigger, and it's making him lose his mind.
Her social media team is so good. A friend of a friend works on the team, and they said that wait, this wasn't you, this was another friend that was telling me this. They said that their friend was saying that they were pushing Biden to run the campaign in a similar manner, like trolling and being funny this whole time, and he wouldn't allow it. And they're like, thank God Kamala will allow it, because that is what is getting traction. That's what people love to see. I mean, they respond better to jokes and all that stuff on any day.
Oh, absolutely. No, and that's why that the right-wing pundits and assholes and Trumpers are now starting to complain and moan about JD Vance couch jokes. Like, they are, it is, I mean, it's just, and it's funny. So our friend of the pod, Drift Glass, who you may remember from a previous episode, he just did a collection of all of these shitheads whining about it. And they're like, this is disinformation that Tim Walz made in not a very thinly veiled reference to JD Vance getting off the sofa. Like, that's not a sofa joke. I'm sorry. Like, if your 80-year-old grandmother is watching that speech, she has no idea what he's talking about.
No clue.
So this is not disinformation in any fucking way. It's just that you don't like that Democrats are having a good time, and you don't like that people are making fun of Republicans for being creepy weirdos. And
I think also what's happening is Kamala and Tim also have a sense of humor about themselves, and I think that's causing the right to melt down, because these people fucking hate being mocked, and they can't imagine that somebody would be okay with being made fun of or like teased, and they're just like, all right, dude, whatever. It is unimaginable to them. So the fact that Kamala and Tim Walz aren't doing a press tour talking about how they're being bullied by the right, I think is making them implode even more, because they're like, why isn't this working? We're making fun of you. You have to respond to it. And it's like, no, not at all.
Yeah. Well, and you have to stop it. You have to stop making, like, that's the best part, is that Donald Trump would get up and call people, like, he'd call people morons, enemies of the people, and various nasty various epithets, and none of these sort of media both sides assholes had any problem with it. They were just like, oh well, we tried, we can't get him to stop it anymore. And it's like, guys, like, you know what, this is the politics that you created. So this is, the unilateral disarmament is over. is what it comes down to. And again, making a joke that a lot of people had no idea about. That's not even anywhere fucking close to saying, you know, the news media is the enemy of the people, and I'm going to threaten Comcast and NBC for being mean to me. Like, there's no fucking comparison. So
also, anyone listening to this, please watch your ass, because whoever doesn't buy tickets to my shows, if I find out you live near the venue, I am suing you. I am coming for your ass. Which Trump, by the way, we mentioned on Monday, again, on our Patreon only episode, which was very fun and funny. Sorry you missed it if you did. We mentioned that he had said he refuses to do an ABC debate because ABC is unfair. And now he's going back and saying he will do it because his poll numbers are slipping.
They are. And I said this like within just a couple of days after Kamala Harris took over. And I was like, on Twitter, I was like, the race is shifting, you guys. She's now leading in polls, and this has never happened in months. And, you know, and some people, I guess, were a little afraid to retweet me on that, but I'm 100% right now. Like, all of the major polls show her ahead.
It's interesting because there's, and as far as her getting ahead and like gaining momentum and people being so excited, I think it's, looking at it now, like before we were all on edge, like, why isn't Biden making this call sooner? And like when he did make the call, we were all like, why didn't he say this months ago to like give her more of a head start? And I think it's actually working to her advantage that it was announced at the last minute, because 100 days is a workable amount of time for people to maintain enthusiasm and for people to sign up to volunteer. When we're looking at it and we're like, oh, it's less than 3 months, I can hold out for that. Where when you're looking at 2 years of volunteering, you're like, God damn it, I can't. Who has the time? This is so exhausting, you know. And I think you can't maintain that level of excitement for that long either. You just will crash.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And when you look at, I mean, Trump and his rallies, like, you know, he's been saying the same thing at his rallies now for basically 2 years, and like he's been, you know, making that same stupid Hannibal Lecter shadowy joke for, you know, a year and a half at least, and it's like, you know, people are just tired of it. Like they leave his rallies almost immediately now, because like they're only there to get the photo for their social media. They don't give a shit what he's saying. Because they've already heard it. Anyone knows what this guy's going to say. It's just the same old shit every single day. And so, yeah, like I think that's, you know, and then the fact that Harris took over after the Republican National Convention, like that was a huge, and like that's why Trump was so whiny about that. He was like, we spent all this money saying these things about Biden, and then he drops out, this is not fair, I need a refund, I need to speak to the manager. So yeah,
it is insane also to me that he admitted that. It's like, buddy, you look bad. I can't believe he was like, we formulated this argument and now we have nothing to say against Kamala. What?
And it also shows just how stupid the argument was. Like, you know, their argument was Biden's too old. That's it. And not he's too old and I'm good. Yeah, and it's like they wouldn't even go for that second part. They never bothered to.
It also shows you how transparently bad he is and his team is, and how bad they will be if they are in office again, because they have no plan, nothing. All, as you're saying, and as so many people have said, it's all they have is pointing out that Biden is old. So it's like, if you take away that, like, if somebody, like, I could formulate an argument against somebody that had more than one point to it. You know, I feel like most people could. You could be like, this is why you should rent to me and not that person. Here's 10 reasons why they'd be a bad tenant, you know? And it's like, you have this whole ass team that across all of them are getting paid multi-millions of dollars, and You have nothing else.
And they're just, they're just floundering, and they keep floundering. And JD Vance, I mean, it's like Donald Trump threw him to the wolves this week because Trump isn't doing any events himself. And so JD Vance is resorting to stalking Kamala Harris basically across the country, following her around. And he did this thing earlier in the week where he literally tried to walk over to Kamala Harris's airplane, Air Force Two, as if the Secret Service or anyone was going to let him in. It's just
also we're. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, I was going to say, and it's like he's already trying to dodge the accusation that he's creepy and bizarre, and like this is, sick stalking ex-boyfriend behavior is what this is.
Mm-hmm. How is it that somebody can physically intimidate the sitting vice president and try to storm on to Air Force Two, and then it's just brushed off like, oh, he's just being a wacko? It's like, he should be investigated. That is crazy behavior. That is threatening behavior. And it's also lost on no one that this is a straight white man trying to storm Air Force Two, which is the vehicle of a Black woman. Black and Asian woman. This is, even if the roles were reversed and it was on the other side, if it was a Democrat doing that to a Republican, I would say the same thing. It's fucking psychotic.
Well, it is, and actually, it reminded me of what Donald Trump was doing to Hillary Clinton during that first debate that they had in 2016, where he would be like, trying to get real close to her, behind her in the frame, and like, really creep up on her and try to intimidate her. Like, this is, if you were concerned about women voting for Republicans, this is not the thing that you would do, guys. So, hey, I'm glad you're doing it. So please, people can see this shit a mile away, and it's pathetic. And like, but it's the same old shit, time after time. And, I think in the beginning, in 2016, it was a novelty act. Like, people thought it was cool, but now it's just, everybody can see what it is, which is just weird and creepy. That's what this is.
No, I am tired of people in politics putting on little, local theater productions. Like, that's what this is. It's a local theater production. He's just doing this for show. And it's like, can you guys actually do things that help people? I don't need to see your recital.
No, exactly. And like, and the other thing is that, that Vance has also been continuing Trump's stupid ass race insult of her.
Donald Trump said something very simple, totally inoffensive, but frankly, obviously true to me, which is that Kamala Harris is a chameleon. She's a fake, and the American people have to look at her record if we actually want to know how she stands on the issues, because her words simply can't be trusted. She fakes who she is depending on the audience that she's in front of, and that's who she is, and that's who she's always been.
Dear God. People are faking. She's faking her race. Her dad is Jamaican. Her mom is Indian. You can see her parents and know her race. People do fake their race. There is Rachel Dolezal. That's a real thing. Also, how would she have made it this far politically? Faking her race. Don't you think they would have called her out 2 decades ago? Yeah. Come on, man.
Well, and exactly, like, Rachel Dolezal is the perfect example, because this was a woman who was exposed, and she was like some Idaho city chapter of the NAACP, or Washington State, I think it was. Like, that's as far as you can go with faking your race.
Yeah.
Everybody will find out after that. And like, but the fact that it's JD Vance who's saying that somebody else is a faker and changes themselves depending on the audience. This is his entire fucking life. That's all this guy has ever done. is tell people what they want to hear, change his name according to what he thinks is popular in the region or where he's at, and remake himself build to order whoever he's trying to get in with. Like this is so insane.
Breathtaking. Yeah. Yeah.
But
absolutely.
yeah, I mean, the hypocrisy is all these guys have. If they didn't have double standards, they wouldn't have any standards, as the saying goes.
I guess, I guess that's better than nothing. Look at that.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of disturbed freaks, Elon Musk is back in the news. He had his lackey Linda Yaccarino announced a lawsuit a couple of days ago against a association of advertisers. And if you guys haven't seen the clip, well, I'm going to roll it so you can. So we'll roll it. So did you actually get a chance to look at her doing that?
I did, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, like this looked like a hostage video, or just it was like a cold video. Like I half expected her, to bring in Marshall Applewhite from the Heaven's Gate cult and be like, "Hey, Marshall, tell us what you think." That's what this video was. It's so fucking bizarre, and like all this, hand gesture. It's like somebody was pulling a puppet string on her or something.
The evidence and facts are on our side. They conspire to boycott X, which threatens our ability to thrive in the future. That puts your global town square, the one place that you can express yourself freely and openly, at long-term risk. People are hurt when the marketplace of ideas is constricted. No small group of people should be able to monopolize what gets monetized. This group is no match for the power of our users.
It's so much more bizarre than I thought it even could be when you were telling me the description, and I was like, huh, okay, sounds odd. And then I watched it, and it was like, it seems like some kind of weird Big Brother video, like something that would be playing in a warehouse full of cots.
No, actually that is a great description. It's like somebody trying to be dramatic for a reality show camera confession. And then I can't believe she said that to me at the dinner. Did you know that? Can you believe her? That's what this was. And but mixed in with religious cult. But of course, minus the culty announcement video was the fact that this was a lawsuit, and the organization that they sued has announced that it is at least temporarily shutting down the program that Elon and Twitter sued them for. So like that really is the point, because the legal basis of this case was total bullshit. They were trying to say that the Advertisers Association had was engaging in monopolistic conduct and illegal collusion, monopolistic behavior.
Elon's exact words, and this was like him during an interview. The video is all over the place. He says the advertisers can, quote, go fuck themselves if they don't like how he's running things. And it's like, I don't understand how you're suing people. Again, I am suing people for not getting tickets to my show. So, but I still don't understand how they're suing people for not wanting to advertise on their platform, which is, by the way, filled with Nazis now. Of course people don't want to advertise on there. No one is required to buy ads on your platform. This is not the fact that Elon Musk is so goddamn dumb, and he and all of his followers seem to believe that freedom of speech means like that restricting somebody's quote unquote freedom of speech in a legal manner means you're just telling them to shut up, or you're not buying their products, or you're not advertising with them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, no, it's a government thing. The right to freedom of speech means the government won't silence you. It doesn't mean anyone has to listen to your bullshit.
Or pay for it, or fucking pay for it.
Yes, or pay for it.
He is not entitled to their money. And
I am, however, so
well, we're not both sides in this either. Only one side.
All those companies can come and advertise on my Instagram page. They can advertise on the side of my car. I'll fly a kite in a park. You guys just let me know. I'll take those ad dollars.
And hey, maybe you can make a hostage video like Linda Yaccarino for that.
Yeah.
For the right price. And in other weird, bizarre creep video news, RFK Junior. That's really all we have to say is just RFK Junior, and then you guys get it. You could fill in the rest. Yep. So he's got a new campaign video of him standing in a orchard with bugs crawling all over him, and he's like, "Yeah, these are ladybugs." And it was funny. Like, he asked the woman who was in the video with him what the bugs were. Like, you don't know what ladybugs are. He asked her, "What kind of bugs are these?" Yeah. Here's
the thing. I saw it pop up in my feed that somebody was like, "Hey, this is an actual paid ad I got," and I just saw the freeze frame, and I was like, "I can't look at this. I can't do it."
Hey, everybody. This is Kathy Johnson from the Kellogg family, but now she runs a company called Organic Control, and I'm covered with ladybugs. They're going to eat all the aphids in my garden. And you can use these instead of pesticides. They're a lot more effective. You see, here's my peaches. And there's a little damage from the aphids on the leaves. But she also has beneficial nematodes, which restores your soil. And this is what we all should be doing.
Instead of pesticides, add life. Always add life to your soil. To your soil, above the soil, below the soil. Add life. Don't consistently kill things.
Anyway, God bless you. Have a great day.
God bless.
Here's Attila.
I don't know who he thought this was for.
I would love to know.
Yeah, to be honest, I actually think that his entire operation at this point is just getting money for himself. I think that's all it's for anymore. Because, like, the woman who he was talking to in the video, he says so and so from the Kellogg family, which I assume is the cereal. So she's like, I assume really fucking loaded. And that's the real reason that he's talking to her about, ladybugs and aphids and peaches. And the bugs are crawling all over him. And one of the bugs starts going in his ear in the video, and he acts as if nothing's happening.
Well, listen, here's the thing. Have you ever heard the nursery rhyme about there was an old lady who swallowed a fly? I don't know why she swallowed a fly, and then she swallows a bird to catch the fly, or whatever the fuck it is, or a spider, and it goes on and on and on. Maybe that's what he's doing here, because he does have a brain worm. So I don't know how ladybugs are with worms. I'm not a bugologist, but I feel like maybe he was just allowing the ladybug to climb into his ear canal.
It's organic surgery.
It's organic surgery.
You have to add life. Don't subtract life.
This is the thing. Yes, exactly. Why would you go in there? Why would you trust doctors to go in there and remove it with a laser? That's scary.
Yeah. Well, and then and somebody asked him, like, another thing. They were like, how much, like, how common is this for you to get carrion off the road, like roadkill? And he said to the person, he's like, I've got 1,000 square foot freezer filled with roadkill at my house. I believe that.
I only don't believe it because I feel like there's got to be a limit to what Cheryl Hines will deal with. I feel like she'd be like, sweetheart, no. Also, I don't know what 1,000 cubic inches looks like. Is that what he said it was? Cubic inches?
Oh, maybe it was. Yeah, maybe it was inches. Could be feet. I forget. Like, I wouldn't
centimeters.
Be surprised by
listen, whatever
one.
it is, that sounds crazy. whatever it is.
But like my reaction when I saw that, I was like, well, this is between the roadkill and the bugs crawling in his ears. Like, we now know how he got his brainworm. Like, he's probably got at least 5 or 6 other parasites in there.
Yeah. And when I looked it up, like, apparently brainworms are like not common, but it does happen to people. However, if you're running for president of the United States, maybe keep that to your fucking self, dude. It's not like that it was leaked and he had to address it. He came out and was like, yeah, I have a worm in my brain. No, it sounds like you have a whole colony of worms in your brain, you moron.
Well, that certainly explains his changed political stances.
Yeah. Okay. As I'm sure everyone has heard by now, because Taylor Swift is unavoidable. You can't miss news about her. I like her. Don't come for me. I like her. I wouldn't consider myself a Swiftie, but I like her. I like her a lot, actually. Anyway, her concert in Vienna was canceled, I believe it was yesterday, because there was a terrorist plot by ISIS to blow up the stadium that she was performing at. And my friend Nikki Glazer, shout out to Nikki, incredible comedian. If you haven't seen her latest HBO special, watch it. It's just this is my plea to advertisers. Look at how natural that was. Please pay me to advertise. She's a huge Swiftie, and she was flying to Vienna to see Taylor Swift there. And I was watching her stories all week and on Instagram, and it was like, stuck at Dulles Airport for 12 hours, but it's worth it. Gonna see Taylor tomorrow night. And then she gets there, she lands, and they were like, whoops, actually concert canceled. Which is horrifying, especially because there was a group of kids at a dance class last week, I think it was, in the UK that were stabbed, some to death, whilst listening to Taylor Swift. They were doing like an interpretive dance to Taylor Swift or something like that, which is horrifying. Taylor was rightfully horrified. It's been a very rough couple of weeks for her and for everyone else that was touched by this. And yes, for her, because like, if you're, as a performer, if somebody dies listening to your
related
stuff, if it's related to in any way, that's devastating, and that is something you're going to carry with you for a long time. The upside of, or I guess, I don't know if it's a silver lining or whatever, I don't know how you would frame this, but after the Taylor Swift concert was canceled in Vienna, her fans went out into the street, thousands of them, and went out, because people will dress up for Taylor Swift concerts and wear like sparkly outfits or outfits that are similar to ones that she's worn on tour, or people make they remake the outfits she's worn on tour, which are awesome. And thousands of people went into the streets and sang her songs together in unison. And I just think that's a really cool, nice thing to do.
Well, in a way to do something positive after, the people try to do something so awful. And which, of course, I guess, trying to draw humor out of awful situations. That is one of the big things of Saturday Night Live, trying to talk about the news in improv comedy. But one person who's not going to be a part of that is Steve Martin, who he has announced that he was asked to play Tim Walz by Lorne Michaels, the SNL executive producer. And Steve Martin was like, I think I was just picked because I'm old and I have white hair. I'm sorry, I don't think I can do this.
It was released that he was like, I'm not an impressions guy. And it's, as a comedian, writer, performer, whatever, it's frustrating to see SNL do this, because it is such a great opportunity for a comedian who can pull it off with some makeup on, who would be great at impressions. I mean, like, James Austin Johnson is is a fantastic example. James, I know from the LA comedy scene, he's incredibly talented. he started doing Trump impressions just on Instagram, just like forward, like fucking forward facing camera videos is what I'm trying to say. During lockdown, I was making all these videos of him doing Trump, and he nails Trump's stream of consciousness in a way that I don't know, like that I've never seen anyone else do. He's so good at it. And then he got cast on SNL. He looks nothing like Donald Trump, but they put him in the makeup and voila, he looks like Donald Trump, because they have one of the best makeup departments in all of television. And before that, Alec Baldwin had been playing Trump and was terrible at it. He was a terrible Donald Trump. And it's so frustrating to see SNL, which could launch people's careers and change their lives, be like, well, let me see what celebrity I know that vaguely resembles this person, rather than hiring an up-and-coming person who's working their ass off on these impressions. And all that said, Tina Fey was a great Sarah Palin. An undeniably great Sarah Palin. But she had also been a cast member of the show. Alec Baldwin had not.
No, he hadn't. And it's like, I feel like with his Baldwin's Trump, it was like more, it was Alec Baldwin playing Trump rather than a Trump parody. That's always what it was. And like after a while, I just couldn't watch it anymore because I'm like, it's not funny. I can't do this. It
was terrible.
Yeah. So I mean, hell, there's got to be a lot of guys out there who look vaguely similar to Tim Walz. America has failed with him. He's a regular guy. So please pick someone.
Yeah, really. Pick literally anyone's uncle. Everyone has an uncle that looks like Tim Walz. Just go with that guy.
Yeah, and subtract the MAGA assholes and freaks, and still got a big pool, guys.
Yeah, turns out.
And I guess in other, man, this is a hard segue.
And very fun. And speaking of old shit.
Oh, there we go. Speaking of old shit, fossils. So scientists have been really excited about some fossils of some ancient humans that have been discovered in Indonesia, and they have been nicknamed hobbits because they were just under 3.5 feet tall, basically. But we don't have the whole
short.
Yeah, so we don't have the full skeleton of them yet, so we just have some bones. But it's pretty incredible, and so the scientific name of the species is Homo florenziensis, after the island.
That's a cute name.
I know, right? It's like flowers, doesn't it sound like? But
yeah, that's a really pretty name. Yeah, I was initially, when I just read the headline of this, I was like, I bet they were just like, is the correct term currently little people? But I think the cutoff for little people is like 4'10" or something, because my sister-in-law is 4'11", and I remember her being like very adamant, like, no, I'm not a little person. And I'm like, you're a teacup human. Like a teacup Yoshi. I can hold you in my hand. She's very teeny tiny. Not making fun of the little people community, guys. I'm teasing my sister-in-law here, who's not going to be listening to this anyway. So please, nobody worry about it, unless you want to cancel me, because I do have to sell more tickets.
It does wonders for you. It really does. Yeah. Well, and so apparently they the working theory of the archaeologist is that there was a group of people who they came to this island, and then the island basically got isolated in some way from the mainland through like water receding, more water in the planet after the ice caps melted. And so the ice age, and basically they were stuck there. And it's there is this interesting thing that does happen, like, and I only know this because in California, that we have some mastodons that were native to the Channel Islands off the coast here. My daughters and I went and saw them one day at a museum. Like these are mastodons that were like 2-3 feet tall, mastodons, and the regular mastodon is like 20 or 30 feet tall. But it's just like only the smaller animals survived on the island because they didn't starve. There wasn't enough food for the big ones, so they die. And so that's the working theory for these guys. And it's I mean, who knows? Maybe they walk amongst us. Got to get a Homo florensis in 23andMe test. I think that's what we need.
I am fascinated by like how can they tell that these were? I mean, I guess you analyze the bones or whatever the fuck. I'm not a boneologist, but how can they tell they were full-grown adults and not just like a village of children that had been discarded? Maybe there were a bunch of fucking third graders that people listen, I have this idea that teenagers should be illegal, and from 13 to like 22, you should be rounded up and sent to an island, because I don't believe teenagers belong in polite society. They're insane. Their hormones are all crazy. I don't want to be around them. And what if they did that with like third graders? What if they were like, we're tired of hearing these kids, and we're just going to round them up and put them in this one area?
Well, who knows? I guess, although, I mean, to be honest, like that's my preference for what to do with Republicans, to be honest. Let them have the survival of the fittest economy that they want for everybody else.
Yes, please let them.
And then the rest of us can work together.
Yeah, and let them go ahead and stop getting federal funding that we're paying into from California. Just go.
Yeah.
Go off and be on your own.
Yeah, their whole the whole fantasy of secession that these guys have. It's like you guys are dependent on the federal government for most of your economies in most of these states. You would have shit. But hey,
nothing.
Maybe you can go for it. But anyway, so that is our last. So that's our last story of the day. We've gotten to the end of the internet. So I do want to encourage everybody to make sure to follow at Doomscroll Show on Twitter and Instagram and other places. And you can get me at Matt Sheffield.
Yeah, and you can find me at Olympian Lisa Curry on TikTok, Instagram, and Venmo.
Although not on Twitter. It's Lisa _. All right, we'll catch you guys next time.
Bye-bye.